There we go. We're live. Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories with my friends and bros. This is like streaming with strangers. And if you guys want, there's a pinned tweet on my Twitter. You can click the link on Twitter and you can come on the podcast. Hey, thanks for coming on the podcast there, Gator underscore Bitcoin. Gator Bitcoin, my bro.
Thank you very much, bro.
Hey, so why don't you introduce yourself? Let everybody know maybe I feel like I want to start to rephrase this question. Let us know who you were before crypto and how
Right,
you got into crypto and who you are now.
right. I think that's the important thing to understand about me. That when you understand that, then you understand my perspective to these things. So when I was going to school and when I grew up, go like around my teenage years and early 20s, I was very, very interested in politics and wanting to change the system, going into government, that kind of thing. And I got a degree, first a bachelor's in political science and then master's in public administration with the University of Florida. And during that time period, as I was in graduate school, the housing crisis happened, where unfortunately, my parents were part of the victims of having an adjustable rate mortgage and then being a victim where they've had to foreclose on their
Yeah,
home.
that's that legacy BitConnect shit right there.
Yes, and so that what happened was sort of there was a jump in my mind then that got me interested in looking into the stock market and the economy and hey, what's going on here? Why did my parents just lose their home? And you
Right.
know,
Like, yeah, it's like bad magic.
right, right. And so then there was sort of an epiphany that came into my head. I graduated in late 2008 from the University of Florida, and I had just seen the stock market crash before my very eyes, basically seeing the whole thing play out where there was a crazy bubble ahead of it with the housing market, especially being in South Florida. There was bigger bubbles than maybe anywhere else. And just that I didn't know anything about stocks, but I was captivated. Like this was stuff. The swings in the market every day was something you wanted to eat popcorn to,
Right.
and you just watched that. You just watched and saw what was going on, and what happened was it was a couple days in March. This was just a couple months after I had graduated. Ben Bernanke, the Federal Reserve Chairman, had announced he was going to do this interview on 60 Minutes, and he was asked, and I remember this like it was yesterday. They said to him, "What are you going to do to save the banks?" Because Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, lots of banks, Merrill Lynch. I mean, the whole banking system was in collapse, and he said, "Whatever it takes." And that was code for we're going to print money till
Print more money.
until whatever it takes the solution to do this.
Yeah,
And
smack the big print button right there and
right,
just print
right,
more.
that was kind of in Bitcoin was created a couple months before that, but in that backdrop of bailouts and that we don't know an answer to any of this other than to print more money and throw it at the problem. So that's sort of changed my narrative, where I then said, well, I have this knowledge about how the government works, but I also see that the stock market is at an all time low here, or it's just had its worst crash since the Great Depression, and a light bulb went off in my head saying, if this isn't the bottom, it's got to be damn near close.
Mm-hmm.
And I then bought stocks, and that day that I bought stocks happened to be the day the stock market bottomed. And from there, it was like I got into it. My family, I was like, hey, this is your chance. This is your, you can start over. You can start from scratch. We can rebuild ourselves after this whole collapse that happened.
Right.
And
Opportunities like that only come once a generation.
exactly. I mean, I'll bridge this to Bitcoin in a second, but from there, I got an interest where then I started giving friends and family, outside of my close family, other people that I know, I gave them advice, explaining to them to strike while the iron's hot. And then I became a risk asset manager, where I mean, I say this, but it's more like, if you've seen the movie Wall Street, like you're in your cubicle sort of space area, and you're talking to people on the phone a lot, but then you also meet them in conferences and such forth. So I had experience with that for I want to say 5 or 6 years, and then basically I got to a point where in that business, they say if you right 60% of the time that you're doing good, and I was right 70% probably or more, but I just dwelled so much on the portion that I was wrong in, and
Ah.
I was just so much a perfectionist that even if my clients weren't upset, I always looked back and said, I could have done this better, I could have done this better. So, after that, then I looked into real estate, where in South Florida, it's just constant people coming in, coming out. So there's constant transactions. And then first, I was a closing agent for title insurance, is sort of like a pre-job before being a realtor. And then I got my real estate license, and then for the last few years, I've been a realtor. During this, however, though, I mean, in this process, since March 9, 2009, I have looked at the stock market several times every day, looked at patterns, looked at psychology, and then now, how this brings me into Bitcoin is that so I have all that experience in hand. In Bitcoin, I had first bought this in 2017, where basically it had turned 2000 at the time. It was in February 2017, and I was thinking, okay, this is a first for this currency that it hit 2000, and basically I FOMO'd and said, I've been watching this for years now, and if I'm not going to buy now, then when am I going to buy? Um, so I bought it with the intention to hodl, and 9 months later, as it just kept going higher and higher, I had watched an episode of Bitcoin came on the Big Bang Theory, and the price was 12,000 at the time. And what happened was they had mentioned in the show that the price just crossing 5,000, and they had only just recorded the show at most 6 weeks to 2 months prior to being shown on the air. So with that extraordinary kind of move so fast, I thought to myself, maybe this is a bubble. I have these great profits now, and I'm just gonna sell it, and just whatever happens happens. Then it went up from 12 to 20. I was a little upset that I missed out on it, but still I didn't feel comfortable with the pace of everything. And then it crashed, and at that point, when Bitcoin crashed, I had thought to myself, okay, this is going to be something similar to what I first experienced in the stock market, where I want to see the same sort of psychology, the same sort of moves happen, and then I'll come in and I'll try to pick the bottom again. And then, sure enough, December 15th comes around. It had been 13 months since I had been in any crypto at all, and Bitcoin had shown me capitulation. It showed me everything I need to see for a bottom, and then I put in a large position there, and then ever since then I've been accumulating, buying on the dips, and so I started on December 15th, and I started a Twitter account on January 4th, with trying to explain to people that this most likely is the bottom, and explain to people what you want to see in a bull market, and
So
how.
you're pretty bullish right now.
Well, yes, I'm trying to put the parallel in people's minds that we're in 2009 in the stock market, but we're just replacing all the same arguments and all the same psychology with crypto instead of with stocks.
Right.
And so from there, I mean, hopefully that ties everything up here, but that's my perspective, how I come on Twitter, and I'll have these fun songs, I'll have these memes and jokes, but all of them have an important message in all of them. And I'm trying to teach people, even in songs like where it sounds, goofy and stuff, there is an important message in almost everything that I put on there.
So you said you got into crypto Twitter about a year or so ago, right?
No, January 4th this year. So it
Okay,
hasn't
so
been.
this year, so what was your experience like walking through the front door of crypto Twitter? Not having any idea what to expect. Just
It,
curious, what was it like?
it was like being on a campus of a college for the first time, except that everyone had like already been there and they already know these things. Like, oh, you don't know, like, maybe these people had these talks before, or oh, this guy says this, or do you know who this? Oh, you're new here, you like charts, maybe you like this guy, and people just sort of talking to me, like introducing themselves, and then me trying to then like sort out and pick in my head who are the people that I like, who I like to follow. That's where I made a group of people called the 1215ers, who are like the bulls that I like that believe in the bull market bottom. And then I made like a logo and sort of like a religion behind it of believing in the bull market. And I grouped all these people together that are like my friends. So I try to make it a close knit community. But yeah, it's a digital version of when I went to campus in Gainesville, and all these people around me, and they're all members or classmates of crypto Twitter instead of a university. But
Right, right. I feel like I guess I kind of got into crypto Twitter in like late 2016, I think, like around November or something, 2016. And it was sort of for me at the time, it wasn't as mainstream or shilly or corporatey or any of that crap. It was still like original OGs, grassroots people still, and it felt more like walking into a high school cafeteria and seeing like the
right,
jocks and like the stoners and like the
yeah,
class clowns and like the varsity, the Ivy League
yeah,
kids. It was like all the different cliques, but it was still like it was more like everybody still got along
right,
more or less back then, I feel like, than they do now. And there's so much tribalism and just trash talking. I
yeah.
feel like it's probably a different experience for somebody walking in today as opposed to a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I already noticed all these factions, and then people a lot more commercialized than I would imagine it was before. And back then, I mean, you had just Bitcoin and a few other things, and so it's just you weren't seeing all these projects being peddled onto people where it was some you didn't have this shilling going on, so people trusted each other
Well, it
more.
really affects the mainstream, or well, they say it really affects the mainstream. I don't know really where I sit with that, but like, think about being somebody who's just new to Bitcoin and they type it in on Twitter and they find, all these cartoon animals with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of followers,
Right,
all talking shit and making memes of each other. And that's the lead following count. Like, these people have the most followers in crypto Twitter.
yeah,
I
and my
have.
favorite
I don't know
thing
if it's like.
about
I
them.
don't know if I care or if it is or isn't even a bad impression and what effect that could have. But I'm just curious. Like, what have you ever thought about that at all?
Um, no, I mean, in my head, I have some people that they just straight up say their names and their faces, and then I have some people like the crypto dog, who's my favorite
I
on there.
love the crypto dog.
Right, and I mean, but he's a professional, and
one Hundred percent.
like I right, and that's why that's another thing I try to cling on to when I'm on Twitter is I try to get professionals to either talk to me or I talk to them. Like yesterday, I just got Thomas Lee to follow me from CNBC, and that means a lot to me because I watched him on CNBC a lot, and even if we don't agree 100% of the time, I love that he's hearing my opinion and I can hear his.
Right.
I mean, where else other than Twitter can you just straight up talk? I've talked to John McAfee. I've talked to or Thomas Lee and just various other people that I talked to Hulk Hogan one time on my birthday.
That's dope.
You know,
I think
you know,
my name drop to fame would probably be Kim.com DM'd me once.
yeah, and it's like sometimes you like want to take a screenshot of it and put it on the the uh the, your
Your
feed.
digital refrigerator.
Yeah, That well, yeah, that's what my 1215 ERS logo, like my top of my profile. That's kind of like something there, like you're supposed to put it on your refrigerator, like my magnet. And when the crypto dog followed me, I put him on the ball, and he comments like, "What is happening?" And I
Yeah,
was
I know.
like,
Can
"Oh,
you explain that a little bit? Because a lot of people don't
yeah,
understand the whole bottom
yeah,
and what the number means and everything
yeah."
about that.
Well, it's and it comes back to psychology. Is that if you believe we're in a bull market, and you're gonna do certain things and handle yourself differently than if you're nervous or if you don't believe in it. You're gonna make bolder decisions. And that I believe that all the people I put on what I call the 1215ers are people that believe with me that when I had bought Bitcoin at 3,200, that was the lowest it's going to get. I mean, the psychology was so in despair. I didn't have Twitter until January, and everyone still then had given up. And it's about that you want to be a contrarian and take the other side of that. When everyone's on one side of the boat, you don't want to be on that side of the boat. It's going to tip over, and like the pendulum's going to swing the other way. So in my mind, we're a group of leaders of people that we're saying, no, we believe this is the bottom. We believe we're going up now. And the fact that everyone doesn't believe is actually a bullish good sign. Because this, like I said, this
It's
to
so
me
weird
is
that it's an opposite effect, though, right?
well, no,
Like,
that's how the
listen,
math is
man.
up.
If you tell me everybody's talking about buying Bitcoin, I'm gonna
Right.
be like, oh, well, that's a good opportunity to buy. But it's actually maybe
Well,
a wait
right.
for it.
Right. So when I liquidated all my Bitcoin, it's a Bitcoin on the Big Bang Theory. They're saying, no, it's only going up from here. The day that it topped at 20,000, there had just been an NBC nightly news special with it, where these people they had paid for their wedding with Bitcoin profits, and basically they were saying, like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and that was the top of this of Bitcoin, and so it's when the public when you see it on the nightly news and it's to the point where everyone just comes up to you and starts talking about it, not just the crypto Twitter crowd. We're all into watching it every day, so we don't really matter as much in that kind of psychology. It's really about turning the average people that have no idea about these daily moves that they're into Bitcoin. So to me, they've all written this off for dead, and a lot of just too many people still don't believe. And as long as that's the case, then I'm going to remain bullish. And to me, what there's a definition for this, a term. It's called a wall of worry. And I've seen this literally, the stock market from March 9th, 2009. This has been the longest bull market in the stock market history. Is driven by things that have made Bitcoin go up, such as Federal quantitative easing, money printing, all these things I could go on and on about. But during this entire 10-year run, I have always seen someone say, this is the top. It's not going to get any higher than this ever, or like we have to crash now. And that mentality, we've had several pullbacks along the way, and basically it was what didn't kill you makes you stronger, and made this such a bull market on bricks instead of sand. And so this is the bull market I see with Bitcoin right now. The fact how we had a sell-off yesterday, that actually entices me. I bought more on that.
Yeah, Tone Bays actually said the same thing at a meetup I was at in Philadelphia with him.
Right.
He was saying, if it keeps going up, I actually lose faith, but if it comes down a little bit, I'm actually going to gain some.
Right. Well, I want to see 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's what I've seen since December 15th. I've seen, a turtle, not a hare. A much more believable bull market. Yet, yes, I made quick money in 2017, but it wasn't something I could sleep at night over and feel safe about. And this bull market, regardless of people thinking it's going to crash tomorrow, I feel very much safer about this than 2017. That all these little sell-offs that we have, these little pullbacks, I've actually I generally buy $100 at a time whenever we get in an oversold situation like this, and I count them up on Twitter, and I believe that I'm up to 48 times that I bought Bitcoin since December 15th. Anywhere between $100 to $1,000 at a time. And
Just off the top of your head, what's like the average gain on the percentage of those dollar cost average investments?
um, I want to say that I'm up between 60 to 65% right now. And well, no, we were I was from the bottom was an 80% move. I want to say like maybe it was 78 to 80%. And my average is somewhere around 3,500. So from there, I was up maybe 60%, and I can't do the other math off the top of my head, but I mean, I'm still up very comfortably where none of these pullbacks
Do you
bother
still
me.
trade traditional stocks, or have you gone like
Yeah.
all in on crypto and ICOs and STOs and
So,
IEOs? And
so that's interesting. You say since basically since the Bitcoin bottom, um, the stocks right now I feel are sort of in a toppy situation where not to call not like I said I mean I'm not going to call a top on it like this it will have new highs in the future, and right now it's making new highs. It's just it's in an overbought state where I just haven't had any opportunities really to buy much because I feel like I'm chasing. So I've been focused on crypto because it's still in this deeply oversold state in my mind. So actually, starting last week, I've started looking into other alts that I had been paying attention to, and now I have a basket of alts that I've added just as a tiny portion, but added to my portfolio before I just only hodl Bitcoin. So those will be for trading, where Bitcoin will be for just keeping in the treasure and keeping for many years to come.
are they trading for Bitcoin or for fiat? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I'm trading for fiat, but if I had profits along the way, then those profits could be used towards Bitcoin later. I just have to see how things play out, but I don't feel I feel like when you trade it in Bitcoin, you're still in essence shorting Bitcoin because you're saying one's going to outperform the other, and I'm not necessarily saying that. Maybe my coin could go up a little less than Bitcoin does, but it still has gains in fiat, even though it didn't have gains in Bitcoin terms.
Yeah, I did trade, but that was because it was as easy as throwing darts at, a board and winning every time, but
Right,
different amount of win. Like you could not have like when I got into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I
right,
could have done whatever I wanted and still walked away a winner, right? So it's not like I was a guru, but I did
right,
trade here and there, and I it didn't really speak to me. I'm more like into the I'm even lazy with my money. I'm more into like the passive things like master nodes or like loaning and things like that. Like when
mhm.
I got onto Poloniex, what I thought was really cool was I could not just trade Bitcoin, I could loan Bitcoin out for like 1 or 2% a day
Yeah, I
for.
get this. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that,
I mean, yeah, it's
I
just that
wish that
instead of
was
it
still
sitting in my
around.
treasure all the time, right?
No
No, no.
KYC, no nothing.
Just as long as I knew I was gonna get the Bitcoin back, I have plenty of it that I could loan out. Just I'll take interest on it, of course.
So do you
Um,
think that,
yeah,
that's what I think though, right? Like the average person isn't a trader. So like
right.
when we talk
And
about
but
mass
they try to
adoption
trade
and like the
anyways, and that's the
psychology
thing
of
that's tough.
crypto,
Right,
nobody cares about trading or the volatility or what. They just want it to work. They care about the functionality,
right,
the utility, and the use case and the ease
right.
of use, right? The UI, the UX, but they don't care about any of the back end shit, especially the trading aspect.
Right, right, and that's what's unfortunate is that both in the stock market and in this kind of all asset markets, the psychology becomes so strong all these times that the technicals end up being just as important, if not more important, than the fundamentals. It's unfortunate, but that's explains a lot of Bitcoin's volatility, giant moves up and down. It's just unfortunate that way, but that's just human psychology that this is sort of like a boomer bust asset like gold, and people either love it or hate it. So you're gonna have reactions that are severe. And one sort of aside from that is one. there is only one stock that I traded correctly, or I should say I invested in the stock market since 2009, since the bottom, and that is Apple. And Apple, being an investor of Apple is very, very similar to being an investor of Bitcoin. Because
Interesting. Well, I mean,
yeah,
yo, the users of Apple products could care less what the stocks
right.
are
No,
doing.
right. No, I'm talking about being a stock investor, because the way Apple works is it goes up and down off of its phone cycles of when they come out with new phones, and then there's excitement that there's a build up into that
Interesting.
product, and then afterwards that excitement it comes back down.
Buy
And
the
with
rumor, sell the news, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. No, it's the same idea with Bitcoin. You had the halvings before, and then it goes up to it, and then it sells off after. This, and that's sort of, I guess, where I was conditioned to be a contrarian as well, where everyone hated Apple, I was buying it. Everyone loved Apple, and I was taking some profits off the table. And I think you should be treating Bitcoin the same way right now, and it's still in the very much hated camp, I think, and so I'm still very much bullish from
Yeah,
that.
I've been all in. I actually didn't really trade much. I just used
Right,
it. I should have hedged, I guess, into like fiat or stable coins or whatever. But like it was like a philosophical stance. Like
right,
I wasn't going to put any value that Bitcoin created back into the fiat machine that I wanted to opt out of and
right.
destroy with my Bitcoin. It's like, why
Well,
would I
yeah,
give the enemy camp supplies and ammunition, right? So, like, yeah, maybe I starved a little bit in this crypto winter, but I didn't want to support fiat at all. So I
right,
truly didn't. And yeah, it hurt my portfolio horribly, but I
right,
sleep good at night. I don't feel bad at all for losing, the value of fiat because I still have my Bitcoin.
right. And look at it this way, right? The Dow was around 14, 15,000 in 2007 before it crashed, and now it's at 27,000. Where 12 years later, someone's still up 12,000 or so points, even if they had bought on the very worst, the worst time that they could and before it crashed. So
Dude, it's
over time,
so weird.
all these things make up for themselves over time if you wait it out and you're patient and you let these things come back up.
How
So
crazy is it that history repeats itself? Because we even had
yeah,
a DAO incident in crypto.
right, well, yeah, no. So yesterday was kind of like a flash crash that we see in the stock market from time to time, where some whale comes in, dumps a
Yep.
lot at one time, just gets
Tether.
liquidated for whatever reason.
Somebody knew something before they said something. That's what that
Yeah,
was.
but I mean, I must have seen that a million times in the stock market where someone doesn't, if maybe in their crypto world this didn't happen as much, or they just don't have as much experience with it, or
Right. No, that's what it is. It's so new, right? Like we just started getting people like your attention. Most
right.
of everybody in cryptos mostly just, hands on learned from just dealing with crypto alone.
Right, and that's going to be a painful experience because I had to learn everything myself through mistakes, and I'm trying to teach people not to make those same mistakes. So that is like it's good to be on Twitter that you can get these people. That I like to hear from an older crowd, a more veteran crowd. That they've been here before, and so they know everything to expect, like I do. So I mean, I know when I'm talking to people if they're on the same page with me or that they're on the same wavelength. They see what I'm seeing.
Right.
So
Yeah, I look at Bitcoin like water, like Bruce Lee's whole like be like water. Well, Bitcoin's like the perfect Padawan to that, because Bitcoin is like you just ask somebody, how do they interact with money in a daily life, and you say, oh well, crypto could fill that need. As a
right,
point of sales, crypto could fill that need as a way to peer-to-peer transactions if you have money in another family in another country, or just so
right,
many different things. If you're an independent, worker and you can't get a bank account for some reason, whether it be like adult industry or
right.
cannabis or whatever.
Right, and I mean, I want to look at this sort of as in it's digital gold, and it is like a new updated version of gold.
It's so much better than gold. I feel like that's
Right,
so
right. It's like
under
gold
crediting
2.0.
what Bitcoin is.
right. I'm what I'm saying is it's like Gold 2.0. It's like a new model, a new version of it, a new store of value of it. Where actually, gold has been in a bear market for several years, while Bitcoin's been in a strong bull market. And that's not a coincidence, because a lot of the gold bugs, I was one of them. I had a chance to buy Bitcoin when it was $250 a Bitcoin. I had $15,000 in gold at the time, and my friend was explaining code to me, and I said only gold is gold, and I made a
Right.
mistake at the time. I could have bought 60 Bitcoins at that time, and I didn't. I
Well, you're
kicked
not
myself.
wrong. That's the problem.
Right.
Only gold is gold. We got to stop comparing Bitcoin to gold because it's so
Well,
much
well,
more than that.
well. So here's where I mean
We're just
I.
grasping at like barbaric straws for some type of a intellectual concept to
Well,
understand Bitcoin, but it's so unfathomable. It's like we have to compare it to something just so we can get it.
right. So the reason I want to compare it to gold is because I look at this through a central bank issue. That the entire stock market and many asset bubbles since that stock market crash had been just through quantitative easing one, two, three. At this point, I just call it QE infinity. People don't realize, but we've had a version of quantitative easing over the last few months. And that is because back in October, the Federal Reserve Chairman had forecasted 3 to 4 rate hikes in 2019,
Oh yeah.
and he ended up not doing any at all in his last meeting, saying first it was like a scaling down, 3 to 4 hikes. You know what? Now it's going to be 1 to 2, and then a month ago he's saying, you know what? We're not going to have any rate hikes at all. And just that change in language is quantitative easing, because it changes the interest rate expectations. And so these are things that the reasons for it are really because our deficit is so high, and it's just, I mean, if you had a credit card, you understand this. At a certain point, your balance goes up, and your interest rate is going to, your principal is just going to keep going up exponentially over and over, unless you bring that interest rate basically down to zero. And so if you go on debtclock.org right now and you see a rising debt that's just, just it's 20 trillion, 30 trillion, it just keeps going higher. Then
It gives me vertigo.
right. So the issue being is that the Federal Reserve is boxed into a corner. No matter what shape the economy is, they have to keep interest rates near zero, because if they didn't, then we have to pay back those credit card payments to other countries, and those payments would be so vastly large that we wouldn't have money for Social Security, Medicare. It's called crowding out the
Absolutely
budget.
correct. Yo, so how
Right,
crazy is it to think, and this is what kind of happened with China and Britain with Hong Kong, right? Like,
right,
what if we have to lease some like land and New York is a port
right,
territory? We might have to
right. You'd be
lease
getting more
New York
sovereignty.
City for 100 years to settle a $30 trillion debt.
Right. And these are the things that I buy Bitcoin for, because and this is where I think it comes into the gold argument, is that as these halvings come along, that where the inflation rate of Bitcoin goes lower and lower, then it becomes a more appealable asset to central banks, not our central banks, but foreign central banks, where they're holding these vast amounts of US dollar reserves. And they're not stupid. They know it's being devalued. And so I look at them as being the buyers of Bitcoin in the future. And that's, when people say, how do you think it could be $1 million, for example, in the future? That's because I think it's their deep pockets, that they hoard it like gold. And, you don't really want to be selling until that kind of process happens. When they're the buyers, then you can sell and take your profits, and you will be the ones that made out like bandits.
Yeah, well,
So
gold, just like Bitcoin investors, are sort of like doomsday preppers in their own way.
right. Well,
Um,
right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I just don't know. Like, a lot of the times, gold bugs will, I'll talk to a gold bug, right? And about the whole
right.
doomsday currency scenario. And I'm
Right.
just like, yeah, you're talking about buying like eggs and milk and shit with
Right.
gold, but I'm pretty sure that my bullets will outweigh any amount you're willing to. I'm gonna
Right,
take your gold and keep my chickens, is what I'm saying. Like,
right, and that's why gold just says, like, for so many reasons. All these gold bugs are saying like, oh, now we're gonna go back up, and we've been in this
who
long, very long.
determines what eggs are worth in gold in
Right,
an apocalyptic fucking event? Like, Mad Max doesn't
right,
make sense for gold
right.
investing.
Right. So I mean, Bitcoin is just, it's taken the gold narrative and it's put it to a 21st century future.
Exactly.
Right. And so, this is something, I'd be a millionaire right now if had I understood that in 2014 when my friend was trying to explain it to me at the time. It was just, Bitcoin was just so new at that time that I just didn't understand it. And that's a lot of what many people still say now.
Well, like
But
anything that's, completely new, like, I mean, it had almost
right,
nothing to compare it to kind of like
right.
even get it, right? Like, it takes a while to kind of get the concept
Yeah,
of blockchain and Bitcoin and decentralized currencies. And
right.
I feel like I kind of was privileged because I kind of I didn't grow up with any money or anything, right? Like, so like I was
Mhm.
unfortunate and yet fortunate enough to have to go through like torrenting files to get music or movies because I couldn't afford to buy the movie or the music. And
Mhm.
if I wanted it bad enough, I had to figure out some other means of getting it. And I stumbled across torrent. Well, first it was like Napster and
LimeWire.
LimeWire, things like
Yeah.
that. But then I learned about the risks of that, the security flaw, and all that because of firsthand viruses and problems. But
Right.
then I came across torrenting and how you get a little piece from everybody, and it's all like,
Right.
if one piece is corrupted, then it doesn't build. That way you can't get a virus. I'm like, this makes sense. I get it. And I don't know. Then I looked at blockchain and Bitcoin, and it was just like carrying over that one little piece that I could tie something that it kind of related to and
Right.
just ran with it. And you mentioned something a little bit earlier that I wanted to talk about, and it kind of segues in now, like how I sort of treat Bitcoin and how you treat it, like cryptocurrencies, like traditional stocks, right?
Right.
I treat it like drugs. I look
Uh-huh.
at cryptocurrencies like drugs. I buy like this is like digital drug wars. I don't know if you ever played the game Drug Wars on the Steam blockchain, but it's like look at
Okay.
like Bitcoin, like cannabis, and like Dash like heroin, and Litecoin is that cocaine, man. It's fast, whatever.
Right.
It's just like you got to look at it like a hustle that you can relate it to. And I was fortunate enough to have to be a hustler to kind of pay my rent. And I kind of looked at buying Bitcoin at a low, selling it at a high, keeping the profits, and buying back my supply.
Hmm.
This sounds really familiar. I feel like I could pay my rent with this shit. And it's
Right.
kind of like how I got into doing the trading thing and then like doing peer to peer selling. And I think they call that like OTC trading and shit, but I
Yep.
just call it the hookup. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's so many parallels. Where I mean, I feel like I'm just calling, you know, uh, coin X instead of stock X, but
Yep.
all analysis and everything is the same. Like I'm in. Right now, there's a few tokens that I follow, and I'm sort of I'm liking them, and I'm getting interested in them the same way that I would get interested in a company or a stock in the
So like
stock market.
altcoins are stocks and Bitcoin's the
Right.
DAO.
Exactly. Bitcoin is my Apple. Apple is the king of stocks. Unfortunately, yesterday Microsoft went above it market cap, but Apple is the one stock that I've stood by for 10 years. Where if you just believe in something, you have faith and loyalty to it, it rewards you over time. And so it's just something where I've kept it to the side, and I never traded it. That's Bitcoin for me. And then these alts, basically, once I got to a point where I felt comfortable that I have enough Bitcoin now, I started looking at them. And now I'm looking at like what you call alpha and beta to Bitcoin. And because I believe Bitcoin is in a bull market, I'm trying to find the highest beta alts possible. So I've had found a group of them lately, and so it's kind of cool because now I'm speaking to like several audiences instead of just the Bitcoin audience.
Right.
So I'm opening up my wings a little bit, or however you want to call it. I'm expanding my territory.
You're
So
broadening your horizons, bro.
exactly.
So,
And
what are your thoughts on the tether situation? Because I feel like it's a non-event. I think it
right,
means absolutely nothing. It's like
right,
the Federal Reserve coming out and saying something about how they just print money. Like, we know you're a scam. People
right,
still use the U.S. dollar and know it's a scam. I mean, people
right.
that used Tether didn't even care it was a scam. Now they know and they still don't care. I feel like it's going to be a non-event.
No. I think that we went down more for technical reasons of being overbought, and that there had to be a story to go with that. When we are overbought and people are out there, and we had some whales, at least that was brought to my attention last night, that just took some profits. Again, that's healthy moves of a bull market. Is you have people to take profits along the way. We've had a strong move up in the last 4 months, and for them to not, they're not liquidating all their Bitcoin. They're just taking, what they think are some profits, and then that provides an entry point, for new investors or people on the sideline.
Or a
So
re-entry point for the same investors.
yeah. So and that's another thing. I made a song today that would basically describe that. That a lot of times in the stock market that I'm seeing here in this bull market was that there are mutual funds and hedge funds that you call whales, that like we would call them whales in the stock market, and these people would intentionally go. They see an order book. They see people like that. Oh, like these group of traders, long or short, are going to be stopped
Yep.
out X or Y, and
It's
then
so
they
fucked up.
price. Right. So that's what you saw yesterday. Was there were a bunch of people that had stops at XYZ, and they just stopped them all out. Like I say, it's like a bully coming and shaking someone out with their
You
hook.
know who they are, right?
Right. Well,
They are the fucking exchanges counter trading their fucking users and nobody
right.
cares.
Right. Well, I mean, that happens a lot. Goldman Sachs does that a lot. They're called market makers,
Oh
and
yeah, they make
yeah,
markets for fucking sure. With your
right,
money.
right. But that's that's where they say not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and you take your crypto and you get it onto these other wallets, and you treat this like an investment, like the things. So I had some alts that dumped yesterday, and all I did was I picked up more. Um, you know, like you have to have a methodical strategy when you're investing and buying these things, and just saying I'm gonna buy X coin here and sell it there. That's kind of just like pulling a slot in a slot machine. For me, I have sort of like a playbook on everything, and so I have plans on if so and so coin goes down or goes up, and what do I do. And if people don't have those plans, then they shouldn't be trading, or they shouldn't be doing these things with their money in the first place. That's why most of the people I see on crypto Twitter, that if they're not experts, their best bet is just to hodl, and just wait out, just be patient, and all you can really do is buy the dips when the dips come to you, like yesterday.
So did you want to bless us with that song that you were just describing?
Do you have a way of pulling that up, or it was it was the '80s version of the song "I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight."
Let me see if I
Uh,
can find it on your Twitter real
it's
quick.
it's it's my like from today. It's the only song I've done today.
Alright, cool. I should be able to find.
But I mean, the point of it was to teach people a lesson that if you're not good at this, or if you're not an expert, that this trading is not for you here. You have to have a strong stomach.
Yeah, no, you really do. That's for sure. For me, it was more like I don't know what it was really. I could like I was just having fun. Like it was just like Chuck E. Cheese tokens. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't care less about the money. It was more about like having the fun and just having the experience of like no matter what I did, my money wasn't in fiat. So like I'm damning the man and having fun at the same time. Like I say, it's not a war, it's a renaissance, and I've just been partying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple alts I've looked at lately where I feel like I'm in the ground floor on them, and that's a pretty exciting feeling to have. That's like where it's like the Chuck E. Cheese coins that you're talking about. Like, I'm just thinking about like what will this be in a year from 2 years from now, and it gets me very excited.
So you said you posted it, I think it says 6 hours ago. Oh, I just
Uh,
died from.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, let me
That's
see if I can do a share real quick. All right, and then I need to share which one? This one with you,
cutting
and
through.
then
Yep.
all right, and then I think that'll work. All right, that should work. There you go.
Can you zoom in a little more there? Is there a way to get that?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, so this, I mean, I'm explaining my thoughts through song, if you will. So okay, so whenever you're ready, this will go. Oh, I just died from a sell-off last night. Must have been some kind of trick. I shouldn't trade. There's no doubt. The whales just shook me out. Oh, I just died from a sell-off last night. What the hell is Tether again? From now on, I will only invest. Buying Bitcoin is the best.
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, the idea is, I'm having fun, but I want people to think of that and sing to themselves, and maybe it sticks with them that like, okay, investing is safer than trading, and that was the moral of that song. So it's more than just goofiness. There's intellectual points with all of these things I'm trying to make.
No, yeah, dude, absolutely, bro. That was awesome, man. I love it. You
No
ever
problem.
do you tune into Tatiana at all?
I'm not sure. Maybe I've seen them, but I'm not familiar with that person.
Oh
I
no,
got
she's like a crypto activist, singer,
okay.
musician. She actually was one of the first people to tokenize like her music and stuff.
Okay.
I have her on Twitter. I'll link you up. I think you'd like some of her stuff.
Yeah, the only person I knew on here when I first started was Crypto Finally, and
Yeah, I know. I was definitely gonna bring her up after that because I didn't know if you knew the other one there. But yeah, finally, bro. When
right,
like I don't know, her music videos are so creative, dude. I swore she
right,
had like a team of people behind her. I really did.
right, and I wish like I could have some like that production value myself, and
Right?
make that some kind of things myself. And that was when I saw her making her videos and her making her music things. That gave me the idea of like, hey, I could do this too. And like I sort of took on the challenge of like, oh, hey, this could be a way of having fun and being creative and expressing myself, but at the same time getting my message through to people. Like if I just put out a paragraph like some thesis about Bitcoin, and I could say everything I just said in that song, but it would sound boring, and the song makes it fun. And so that's what I like that, finally sort of shed a light to me for is that we can do this in a way where we have fun, but we're still teaching people. So that's sort of like I'll tag her in songs along the way that I want her to see, and then just sort of, like I'll look to her stuff, she can look to my stuff, and we can collaborate. And yeah, I think it's very fun.
Dude, we got to make a music video together for sure. One of these conferences, man. Are you going to Consensus?
I have to have all these things are new to me. Like I heard that's like the Woodstock of these conferences. So
I think if you had to say Woodstock of these, I would say Dogecoin or something like Untraceable's Futurist. I don't
yeah.
know. Consensus is like it's not Woodstock at all. No
Well,
way.
all this is new to me, so they're all teaching
Yeah,
me.
consensus is like $3,000 ticket type of bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's not
I
it's
got
not
I got
Woodstock at all.
I had a pass to go to this last conference. It was a little out of my price range if I didn't have that pass. But
Yeah, some of them can get ridiculously expensive, which creates a huge barrier for mass adoption because it's like
yeah,
it's not we don't need suits and ties at these conferences, right? We need end users. We need people that are
I
actually going
was
to use
dressed up
this shit.
just like this. I had this shirt on. I ran up to this guy, several people, but just as an example, there's this person, Crypto Randman, who's on like a CNBC crypto thing, like he's part of crypto Twitter, and someone had explained who it was. I didn't really know anything about him, but I was like, hey, he works for CNBC. I know a lot of these people on TV, so let me just go up to him like he was sitting at a table, and I just started asking him questions and picking his brain. And he like had this intellectual discussion with me in conversation. So that's what I love about this conference was like anyone could walk up to anyone, and it didn't matter what status you are or who you came from. Like everyone wanted to share what their own backgrounds and their own philosophies, perspectives. So I felt like I learned so much in those 2 days there. If I could, that's what I look forward to in every conference I want to go to in the future.
Yeah, well, Florida's got some good ones. I mean, Miami's down there, and they got some good ones with Mo and stuff. They got good meetups too. Let's see. I was
Hmm.
actually, you said Gainesville. I was in Gainesville once. I had to go to Gainesville for micro soldering lessons to
Yeah,
learn how to fix logic boards on a
yeah,
scale like under microscope, and it was pretty cool. But I had to fly from Philadelphia all the way to Florida just to learn that because there was nobody doing it like
wow,
10 years ago when I wanted to do it because the iPhone 4 or 3 was coming out and everybody was breaking it and they were willing to pay more to fix the phone than the phone was worth.
right.
And I saw some dollar signs behind that, so I invested in the knowledge to fix the phones to get paid. And that's what I did for years.
Yeah. No, I mean, once you see something, you want to take advantage of it. You feel like you're on the ground floor for it.
That's what I feel about when I saw Bitcoin. I was like, yo, this is
Right,
so early. Even if I'm the fucking janitor at Bitcoin, this is
right.
gonna mean something real quick. Like,
And I
could
see
you
more
imagine
people.
how good the first janitor at Google is? The first
Right,
janitor that retired from Google?
yes.
Like,
No, I mean, the it's sort of faded away now, but for the first couple of months I was on crypto Twitter, the entire thing for me was like I went to a time machine back to 2009, and I'm thinking to myself like, holy crap, this is the stock market all over again. The psychology is the same, everything is the same. We're just replacing stock names with coin names, and just uh, it actually sort of invigorated me because I'm 34 now, and back then I was 24, and so I just haven't had this opportunity to have things on sale like where I'm when things are on sale and everyone's writing things off for dead. That like I love that. I love to go shopping and buy things low, and it, it, just the contrarian aspect of it is like when there's all this fear and FUD out there. I just love it myself that I can take advantage of what are market incorrections. And there will come a time Bitcoin goes back up to new highs and everyone will be kicking themselves. Why didn't they take advantage of this opportunity now? And so, I know I can feel good about myself that I took advantage of this.
some people might, and then I think a lot of people still won't care. A lot of people just aren't into investing or making money or any of that. Like they just day to day like live life. Like
Right,
a lot of people will just use it, and I think like how many people kick themselves in the ass about investing in Snapchat or Uber or Facebook or
right,
Netflix. Nah,
right,
not too many people. But they all
right.
use it, and like one
Exactly.
of the things I try to tell people is like some people will ask me like what's your thought process on like legacy businesses, and
Mhm.
I'm sort of the person that's like I don't want to buy a pair of Nike shoes unless I have a Nike stock.
Right.
Before I start putting value into a company, I want to have stake in it so I can, you know,
That's exactly what I did with Apple and the iPhone. And that all these generations that you've seen of iPhones for the past 10 years have been, where I've been following the development throughout those years and being a stock investor. I hope that Bitcoin can have the same sort of evolution and progress. And so far, I'm confident with things like the Lightning Network. that I'm seeing that progress. And I think in 10 years from now, the same way with Apple, that we will see a much different Bitcoin Core BTC, than we see right now. You'll see the development team and just efficiencies and technology over time will get better. Where this is to me a mind-boggling investment that people should not. They should think of it as insurance, like they need to own Bitcoin, more than just a want, or something that they could have. They
Actually, a lot of businesses look at it like that because of the
Right,
WannaCry viruses for cybersecurity reasons. They don't
right,
look at it as an investment vehicle. They just look at it as a security reason. I know that you're thinking of more of a security net, financial security net, but like
right,
it is also some companies just have it just in case they get hit with the some kind of ransomware.
right. And this sort of you sort of said something there that I want to bridge to something I don't want to talk about too much, but there is sort of this libertarian nature to Bitcoin, of this decentralization that appeals to me. And if you are someone who is a true Bitcoiner to me, then you're someone who's accumulating right now, where you're living within your means, and you're saying, what can I afford? Like, what is my disposable income? And I'm putting that into Bitcoin. And you're right. So your behavior and your the way that you're conducting yourselves financially is the complete opposite of what's happening with the U.S. dollar. How we have a government that spends more that they can consume, and our
Mm-hmm.
debt goes higher and higher and higher. So I think by being a Bitcoiner, you're being the opposite of this perpetual two-party system that just creates more debt. It's whatever party you come from, this is still a big government as long as we spend more than we take in. It's there's you can only dig a hole so far before you come out to the other side. And people, they can't take those things for granted. They have to have sort of a rainy day fund or something in what I call a safe haven asset.
I think I
And you
read an article that like 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 in savings for an emergency.
Right. And see, this is really dangerous, and this is why they'll need this is why, even if they don't have much money, like you don't have to think like you need to have one Bitcoin right away, but whatever you can, like, you want to start a piggy bank of it now.
Well, you can
And just
even earn. You don't even have to buy
yeah,
anymore. There's so many ways to earn
yes,
cryptos.
yes. And I mean, now's the time to do it while you can. I mean, because there will come a point where these currencies are devalued so much, where people are going to lose faith in them, and that they're going to turn to hard assets. And it's just a matter of supply and demand, and fund. If I have X amount of one commodity, Bitcoin has a fixed supply, and the U.S. dollar doesn't have a fixed supply, or fiat doesn't. That you increase the supply of one and one doesn't the other, the price is going to go up in the other. So I mean, yeah, that's not going to happen overnight, but people need to have this sort of piggy bank strategy. They need to take this seriously, and be responsible with the way that they handle themselves financially. That's the way that we break this sort of way that we got here in the first place, where people are all over in debt, and just spending beyond their means. That's why Bitcoin was created. And a true Bitcoiner, in my mind, has this sort of attitude to them, and that's what I want to preach to others. Saving a penny saved is a penny earned. And saving and investing is how you can protect yourself in the future. You don't have to worry about things like quantitative easing, or the government taking this power away from you, because this is sort of your nest egg that you can turn to, for this.
Yeah, I
So
feel like when
uh,
you say quantitative easing, it just makes me think of the Bitcoin halvening. It
right,
just every
well,
time.
um, not to get too much into the numbers, but after the next Bitcoin halving, the inflation rate will be less than the less than 2%, and 2% is the standard inflation rate for the Federal Reserve. Like they, if you will, they try to create inflation to be at least 2%. So the inflation rate becomes less than the U.S. dollar after the next halving. So that sort of takes Bitcoin up like another echelon of its scarcity. But what really appeals me is the halving after that, where Bitcoin goes under 1% inflation rate, and at that point it's rarer than gold. And at that point is where I see what I was talking about before, of the central banks sort of gravitating towards it, and then you see Bitcoin as a six-digit number or higher.
Right.
Yeah, so that's at the end of the day what I'm thinking about my end goal. So that is so far in the future that all these little moves now are very insignificant to me, and I just use any little move down to buy more, and I've just been accumulating for 4 months.
Yep, dude, I've been accumulating for like over 3 years. I just,
Yeah,
it is my currency of choice now. It's funny to
right,
think. I was like thinking, I'm just gonna play with this thing, and now it's all I use. It's all I need, and for me,
right,
it's just, I'm just taking the leap. Like I'm the first person to be using a computer, and it sucks. It's slow. It breaks
right,
sometimes, but at the end of the day, look at the people who were first end users for the computers. They became like either advisors or developers themselves or something along the way of the building blocks of it. And I get to work with projects and advise
right,
or just give them input as an end user because I'm so early on as an end user that I can put pretty permanent imprints into the beginnings of this industry. And it's
right.
still early enough that, if you're a graphics designer, who knows? You could change a logo of a coin forever because your graphic is
Yeah.
that good.
I want to
I'm,
change a back coin to the Batman logo or something like that, but that's besides the point.
we have to figure out what parodied version of the Batman logo we could use, and maybe we could get away with it if it's a parody.
Yeah, I sort of did something like that on my Twitter yesterday.
Maybe if it's like a bat, right, with two
Uh,
Bitcoin genitals.
yeah, no. Before there's this thing you can find online, where it was like there's this bat logo going into the sky, but instead of the bat, it's like a black triangle, like the basic attention token logo. And then there's these bats flying around the moon that it was shined up to. So like people have already took that idea. I just like would want to play with it a little more if I could, just to have fun, like while I'm trading these things.
No, dope, dope, dope. Yeah, well, if you ever want to have fun while you're trading, you could check out Hero,
Yeah.
HXRO. It's a game a lot of people have been playing with for trading. I'm not big on trading. I play the game a little bit, but
Right.
it's basically like trading.
Well, the
It's
crypto
not.
dogs mentioned it before, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll let everybody know where they can find you on the internet and what you're up to with like your YouTube channel and everything else with Twitter and what you got going on in life.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me at Gator Bitcoin on Twitter. You at this moment, maybe I'll set up an Instagram soon. I do have a YouTube channel. If you search for Bitcoin Gator on YouTube, you'll see all the different songs that I went and did a video for, or I have some skits I did videos for. You'll see them all linked up in a row. Sometimes I'll put it up on my profile page, and you could just click on the link from YouTube to go on there. So yeah, I mean, just check it out, have fun. If you can learn something along the way, then that's great.
All right, guys, and we have to like all of us together visualize and manifest the music video with Gator Bitcoin and Crypto Finally. Visualize it so we can enjoy that, man. Because
Yeah,
I'm greedy and I just want to see it. So you
yeah,
guys got to do all the hard work and create it, but all we have to do is manifest it
okay,
as a community, guys. So just believe positive thoughts, and we'll see that video made. Maybe like John was saying, maybe you can come out to the Magical Crypto Friends conference, and that's a
yeah,
lot cheaper than the consensus, and it's in New York City. So finally's out there at the Bitcoin Center. So I don't know.
hey,
We'll figure out whenever you can come out to one of these events, bro. I'd love to link up IRL and just shoot the shit
yeah.
with you.
Well, no, she came to Florida, so it'd only be fair if I went to New York.
See, that is true. At least I got to see a gator. You can chase a pigeon.
Yep. Yep.
All right, guys, check it out. It's Gator Bitcoin, and yeah, don't forget to pound the thumbs up button. It looks like this thing right here. Click that, and it'll do one of those. There's a bell next to it. If you hold your phone and you flick the bell right next to the subscribe button, it actually makes a ding sound. Don't believe me? Try it. All right, guys, thank you all. Bro, have a day.
Yeah. Yeah.